Disclaimer. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only and should not be considered as facts. Nothing that is said about any person, organization, gaming company, or sport topic in general should be taken as facts, as well as any talk about any political, religious, or medical topics. As for medical topics, at all times you should speak to a licensed medical professional before any opinion is considered. Everything that is said on this podcast is opinion-based only. Viewers and listeners' discretion is advised.
Welcome to the DrVtach Show. This podcast is a long-form conversation hosted by DrVtach with the top guests in the world of esports. All from owners, pros, semi-pros, former pros, and content creators of many games. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the DrVtach Show. Well, today we got a special guest, and oh boy, this guy is tough. Oh man, I hear he eats rocks for cereal. I'm telling you, this guy is tough. So, guys, I want to introduce you to this phenomenal coach. All I've been hearing is great, phenomenal things about him, and I'm really excited because within this organization, he's actually the first pro player that's going to be on the DrVtach Show. I never had anybody from Team Bliss, so he is actually the first. Guys, I want to introduce you to Titan, the head coach for Team Bliss. Titan, how you doing, brother?
Hello. Thank you for having me on. Doing very well over here.
Good. So, Titan, where are you from, man? You got an accent.
So I'm from the UK, but I wasn't born here. I was born in Germany. My father was in the military, and so we travelled around the world. This is probably actually the longest period of time I've spent in the UK, which is about the last 7 years or so, I think it is now. But before that, I've lived all across the world, places like Spain, Nepal, Gibraltar, Cyprus. I've been a bit of everywhere. Had a global education, you could call it almost.
Wow, I like your accent, man. You sound like James Bond.
Thank you very much.
Now you just need his money, right?
I wish. If I had the money, the pull, the looks, the cars, life would be perfect. Honestly, that'd be brilliant.
The cars especially. I mean, because if you get a fancy car, usually you get anything you want. You're gonna get all the girls, you know.
Exactly. With the cars, with the looks, with the money.
Yeah.
What more?
I mean, you're not a bad-looking guy. You're a good, young, handsome looking guy. So
Thank you.
So you just need the money now.
That's so true.
Now you need to get some W's in some championship or probably win worlds.
That would be ideal. That would be perfect, to be honest.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's the plan this summer. Go to Esports World Cup. Go win that maybe with Bliss. Would be very nice.
It's freaking wild. You saw the trophy?
Yeah, it's very, very nice.
They made it look like the actual soccer World Cup. You know, the football.
Yeah. I mean, they want to add the grandiose to it, and to be fair, last year's event I didn't get to go to, unfortunately, even though my team went. So I'm looking forward to this year to actually hopefully qualify and actually be able to, experience what Saudi Arabia has to offer.
Yeah, that's going to be wild. That's going to be wild, man.
Indeed.
So, Titan, tell us a little bit about yourself. We got 42 countries now. I'm being listened to all over. I didn't know and didn't expect that. I was totally surprised. So now you got people from Taiwan listening to you. I was like, what the heck? So you got people all over. So tell them a little bit about yourself. How you started gaming. How did this all begin with you? How did Titan came about?
Oof, it's a long story, to be honest. So I started probably gaming when I was like about 4 or 5 years old. My mum and I moved to Spain whilst my dad had to work in the UK. We just bought a house there. My dad has also, like a present for me on my 4th birthday, bought me a PlayStation 2. And he was like, right, here you go. Here's something you can do and entertain yourself in the free time. And basically from there, I think my sort of like addiction, my love, my sort of passion for gaming came about. And it was the first ever thing I played was the demo discs you used to get with like all the little games that you could play maybe a couple levels on or like half an hour, and I used to run those back constantly, time and time again, for about a year straight. And honestly, even thinking back now, that was some of the happiest moments I had. It was just so much fun constantly. And then from there, realistically, just sort of like took off. I just constantly have always been a gamer. Used to be FIFA games, Football Manager games. It could sit then also Call of Duty, and then one day Siege came out. I saw it with a bunch of friends when I was living in Spain. went around to somebody's house, played it for a bit, sucked terribly, like absolutely awful I was at the game. And I was like, right, maybe I'll get this to try and get better at it. So I bought it when it was in the beta, and then I think I tried it, sucked, didn't touch it again for about a month, 2 months. When the game came released again, bought it a couple months after release, tried it, sucked, didn't touch the game for about a year, basically. They were all back on Xbox, and I was like, right, no, stuff this. And then somebody basically just said, oh, have you seen like this clip of, I think it was like a Pro League match or something like that. And I think it was Penta versus, I think it would have been like EG or something like that. It was like one of the original Year 2 Pro League games, and I was like, wow, you know, like, holy moly, these guys are so good. And I think that's where my love for Siege in itself came about. And I was like, you know what? Okay, I really want to do that. I want to be able to be one of those people that, at the end of the day, is able to kind of like have this as like maybe an option in my world, you know, as a dream. And I mean, at the time, I was still in Spain. I was, 16, 17 years old, I think I must have been. And I was like, oh, okay, I'd love to do this. But I never sort of like put it as full focus, really, until I got to university. I had so much more free time. I mean, university here in the UK, you get so many, like, you get very few contact hours with lecturers, so you get so much sort of personal time. And then I ended up, I think my last year, I was quite lucky, end of my second year, I just started to choose to coach on PC. I was still on Xbox at the time. I didn't actually have a PC. I had a little £200 laptop that I used for uni that I would do sort of like counter analysis work, spreadsheets on, for a team called Visionary Esports way back when. And from there I joined another team in Tier 3 called Horus. And courtesy of that I met a coach called Amerta, who then went on to join a Challenger League team called August at the time, which was a German roster with players like KS, Draven, Prano, Hive, sort of players that ended up being big names in Pro League. And I said, right, he came to me, I think it was like around January time, about a month or so after he'd been on the team, and said, right, we're looking for a performance analyst, somebody that can do data, somebody that can give us like the marginal gains, the percentages, that's it. And I said, right, sure thing, give it a go, you know, and I guess you could say I never looked back. We got promoted that very first stage, and it kind of coincided perfectly with me graduating from university, COVID lockdown hitting, me having, I had like over 100 allergies, and so my immune system is quite weak, so at the time it was kind of like not really plausible for me to go find like a normal job, and plus everything was kind of shutting down in the world anyway. So it was like, well, stuff it, I'll give esports a shot and see what this is like. So you obviously start out on very little pay, then you get promoted after a year to head coach, and yeah, just from there, what did I do? Year and a half I think I was as head coach, went on to then join Gaming Gladiators after a summer off in 2022 to the end of 23. Fabian then came knocking on my door at the end of 22, around December time, and he said, hey, we're looking for an analyst, would you join me? And I said, I actually turned him down the first time. I turned down G2, and I said, no.
What in the world? Really?
Turned down G2. I said to him, no, because I'd already made a commitment and a promise to the players on Gaming Gladiators that I'd see out the SI qualifiers with them, and I'm very much a man of my word, and I stuck by that. We ended up getting knocked out quite early on in the qualifiers, and then Fab G2 came back to me and they said, hey, you know, like your condition was like whilst you were still in the qualifiers, now you guys are out, would you still be interested? And I said, well, sure. I had a conversation with the GG guys, they all understood, and I mean, about 50 days later we won SI. So
that is crazy. I mean, I bet you feel honored that Fabian reached out again, because usually when you get turned down, people get, you know, they get a little bit sour. And they're like, okay, no, I'm going to go with somebody else. But this time, he went ahead and reached out again to you and picked you up. That was nice of him.
The second time was the organisation, not Fabian himself. He probably didn't want to have to go digging twice. No, but Fabian and I are we're very good friends, and we know each other quite well. So it was the same thing with his predecessor, Shaz. Shaz was sort of like, during one of the earlier windows, tried to pick me up for G2, and unfortunately there wasn't like a deal that could be negotiated between Secret and them. So, I mean, it was something that was always on the radar for me, and a hope and a dream to always join G2, and in the end I fulfilled that dream. And then, up until Manchester, where we just parted ways because I wanted to sort of like take on a new responsibility and a new role as a head coach of a team, and here I am, Team Bliss, very happily as well, blissful, one might say.
Wow. Now, tell us a little bit about Team Bliss. I don't know too much. This is basically a new organization, right?
Not that new. They've been around in Oz, also like OS scene, for quite a while actually. They're basically the biggest organisation right now in OS. I think probably alongside this organisation called Greyhound Gaming, and they also took over Chiefs, which might be more of an internationally recognised name.
Oh, okay.
For some of the old like older viewers maybe that like watched Siege back in the day a bit more, and also like other games like CS, etc. And these guys, the org itself has been around for I think since about 4 or 5 years now. The roster itself has been sort of like constantly developing and upgrading itself over the last like 2.5 years. They've been kicking around for a while. Oda has been on this team for about 3 years now, 4 years. And then they picked up Sejon on, I think it was the start of 2022 it would have been, start of 2023, when they got into the new format with Blast, etc. Fish joined back end of 2022. Brendo joined, I think, around the same time. He's been on the team for quite a while. He's kind of like... Brendo is this young superstar. For anybody that doesn't sort of know the team too well, I'll go through each player, but Brendo's one to look out for. He's a little hotshot that's going to be very, very good very, very soon, hopefully. And I think he's shown the world some of his talents already at the international stages, and he can choose... I'm hoping to sort of help him kick on and develop a lot more. And he really does look like, the real deal in terms of a player with absolute just raw potential that's sky high. And then the last player on the team is the newest guy, Mr. Wetables, who is one of the funniest characters I've ever met in my life, and he is an absolute hoot to be around every single day.
Really?
Yeah, no, he is brilliant, honestly. He's absolutely excellent. But for the rest of the guys, Fish is the sort of team IGL, so he's like one of the main leaders in the team. He used to have to do everything. He did a lot of the coaching work in terms of strategy work, etc. before I joined. And I'm very appreciative of how much he sort of took on board all my ideas and my visions, and his implementation of them, and his work ethic, to be honest, to be able to try and get up to scratch and learn things has been second to none, and better than I've seen pros that have been around for much longer than him. So all commendations to him. Sejon is probably arguably you could define as the model professional almost, the most senior player in the squad in terms of age. He lives up to it. I think he's a little bit older than me by a few months, and he kind of shows that he's almost the calming aspect of the person in the team. Always somebody that you can rely on, the pillar that's there. And then you have Oda, who is team captain, and I think instills the values and ethos of what we want as a roster and what this team has always wanted, which is somebody that will turn up, give their best every single day, and they will always try, no matter what the situation is in front of you. You always go there, and I think if you have that as your captain and you have those three as your senior players, your pillar for support of emotional stability, a great IGL who wants to learn, who is so hard-working, and a team captain that gives sort of this never die attitude, you can't go wrong with sort of that at the top of it in a sense.
Wow. Now, do you see a different type of style of strategy when you were with G2 and you won SI 2023, right? That's the one you won. Yeah. And now you were Bliss. Is it a little bit, since these are two EU teams, is it the same type of structure, or this is what Bliss is totally different?
It's very different. I mean, it's not just Bliss in itself. It's APAC as a whole is very different to Europe, and it's I think also what we were as a team in itself at G2 at the time is different. I mean, the team that we won SI with was quite different in the way that we sort of operated a lot of things compared to what we were when I left the team. So, I mean, I think there'll probably be a presumption from a lot of people, an assumption that I've brought basically the ideas that we had towards the end of G2 to here, or maybe what we had when we won SI. It's some kind of crossover of everything that I've learned a little bit, and sort of my own interpretations and sort of, values of what I believe, and more than anything. And I think the true difference is a little bit to do with the practice environment that you can have. I'll be honest, the practice environment here in APAC is very, very questionable at times. I could call out some pro league teams here, but I'll play nice and I'll leave them to their own sort of world to have fun there. But they know who they are and they know that they need to be better. And I think that is one of the biggest sort of detracting factors for APAC at times, in terms of quality of practice means your every day can't be 100%. Your every day is sometimes 70%. Hit that, and that will get you crazy results. I think for OS it's harder as well, and this was something that when I was on Gaming Gladiators with a team based in Indonesia, I never recognised at the time, and that was you had the ability to practice all the other regions in Asia, Korea, Japan, etc., without many problems. But for OS, you're so distant because most of the players are on the East Coast. 4 of the 5, Brendo's the only one who's on West Coast. You play on 120 ping in practice. That's
wow.
And then you have the opposition also playing on said 100 ping, 110 ping, because they play VPNs, so that it's at least semi-balanced and semi-fair. But the reality is it's not. You're basically playing 200 ping gunfights both ways on a daily basis. But then you come to your official against another OS team and you're playing on 30 ping. So your practice environment is not akin at all to what your real game official environment is.
Correct.
And then even that in itself, when you then go to LAN, it's just so different. And I think it's one of the biggest adjustment periods or adjustments that teams have to make that people don't recognise and don't realise. And it's one of the issues. I know speaking to a lot of the guys, it's gone.
Doesn't it make you a better player if you're playing on that type of ping, and then and you're good and you're a freaking beast, okay, playing on a high ping like that, then all of a sudden when you're competing, you're playing on 30 pings or you're in a different location and you're playing on different ping or versus when you're playing on LAN. I mean, you should be like doing even superb job, even better now.
I wish it did translate that way, but the problem with games like Siege are it'll tweak and adjust how you play scenarios. For example, let's say for example we have a 5v3 and you're therefore on LAN, you play crossfires because there's no peekers advantage there, right? It's just basically pre-firing. Whereas on 200 ping gunfights, there is a peekers advantage. So in those 5v3s, the guys have to almost get active quite quick consistently to be able to put themselves in an advantageous position for the gunfight. So you're swinging, basically. And it kind of, I think, is what a lot of people don't realise in terms of the APAC playstyle. Yes, players are more aggressive here at times, but it also is based on what they're having to practice with. It's your practice environment. If your environment every day is teaching you, you must swing in this position, in this scenario, you will swing and peak. But the truth is, you don't necessarily need to do that on LAN. And trying to cause that mindset shift, it's like trying to teach somebody that, has learned something for years of their life and then they have to unlearn it in a space of, at most, a week, maybe 2
Oh my God,
most.
now I see your point. I see your point. See, I always thought since you're going against heavyweights, okay, in boxing, and then all of a sudden you're going against lightweight. So it's going to be a lot more easier. But then now what you're telling me does make sense because you're so used to doing certain amount of things due to the high ping.
Yeah.
You got to take different covers. You got to do some type of, peaks and stuff like that. But then now that you're on LAN, that goes away. It's like, you don't need to do that now. Now you got to do something different.
No, exactly.
Oh gosh, that's got to be brutal for the guys.
It is very hard. And I think the hardest thing that people kind of will sit there, and I know there'll be some people that say, well, just go for boot camps longer in wherever you are. It's not that easy. Money at the end of the day in OS is more restrictive. There's not that budget that they have to be able to say and do what a G2 could do, or do what a Fnatic or a BDS, etc. could do, which is send a team for a month to a boot camp if they needed to, or to a gaming house and say, hey, go play in this region here and you guys can go practice for like 2-3 weeks. They don't have that luxury. Their luxury comes in, hey, you can maybe get like 5 days at most, maybe 6 days including travel days, to be able to go scrim somewhere. It's really, really hard. And I think that's, when you look at what the guys at Bliss have done with the tools available to them at home, with the hours that they've had to put in themselves, these guys work and study as well, most of them, at the same time as playing Siege. So they're a part-time team and they're a top 10 team in the world.
And we're not talking about even when you guys have to adjust to your sleeping habits because you're different,
Exactly. I mean, these guys are traveling,
jet lag and all this stuff.
These guys have to make some of the biggest distances in travel changes
of
any team as well. And a lot of people will sit there and go, oh, yeah, but blah, blah, blah. No, it's really hard. These are true factors that play into every single day things. And I say, I mean, for me, I tip my hat to them because, to be honest, like seeing how much they have to go through, it is unbelievably impressive what they do to make sure that they can be as competitive as they are. And I mean, that goes for each individual player, the analyst of the team in Garan, it goes for the performance coach that exists here. Everybody that's given some contribution here helps towards this team managing to be the best form of itself every single time. And I only hope to do them justice and sort of, help them and assist them along that process and to being better than what they are right now.
Oh, I'm sure they're going to, Bliss is going to do good under your care. I because you got the knowledge, you got the experience, the fear factor is gone. I imagine when you were on SI and you were, that's got to be very nerve-wracking. And you see that big trophy, the hammer, and, I think when you play in those type of tournaments and those type of events, your nerves is there. The crowd, you could feel the pressure. Now that you won, you made it, you've been there, you've done that. Now it's a little bit more easier for you versus the guys that never been in those type of tournaments.
Yeah.
You'll be like, guys, relax. I've been here. I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
Take a chill. I know the crowd is affecting you. Don't worry about it. Forget about the booze, all this stuff or whatever. Just tackle this, do this. Trust me, it will work. Don't let it get to you.
Yeah.
You have that experience, which a lot of them don't even have that.
No, I mean, I've used it a couple of times in practice so far where it's always process over results is the biggest thing that you always have to look at. You have to look at if you're doing the right steps, the right things in practice. And, I mean, it's one of the things I think for me that over the last year and a half being at G2 has helped me sort of bank up that sort of wealth of knowledge, that wealth of experience, that wealth of understanding that sometimes things will not work out, but just because it doesn't mean that it's something that isn't right. It just means that the process is correct, the outcome is wrong. Now, how do you adjust the outcome to be correct? And you can look at then different stages in a round, for example, break that down, and then help. I mean, I think the guys will be sort of they'll be bored of me using the phrases. I always use the words phases and transitions, basically, as if we're like some sort of like NFL or NBA team, and just you're playing different sort of parts of the round. But it's I think in Siege you can definitely look at it that way. You can just break down how you want to play sections of the round and how you generally sort of go about things. And yeah, I mean that SI experience for me was very nerve-wracking. It was actually my first ever LAN event I'd been to in Tier 1. So for me it was like, woof, wow.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid or ashamed or afraid to say it. I remember the very first game we had, which was against Koi. I was speaking to Fabian about map bans that we were going to do. And then he says to me about 5 minutes before the veto, "Oh, Titan, by the way, you're going to do the talking." And I was like, "Whoa, wait, what? Hold on." I expected Fabian to do it. And I remember there with the little booklet, I was actually physically shaking, and you could see my hand, and I was trying to grip my hand from shaking because I was so nervous. I was like, I don't want to mess this up. And I mean, we ended up going on to win, but I think it was after that in the evening, I remember Fabian going, "Look, so I'm going to do the bans from now on because you're shaking and you're clearly nervous." And I mean, since then I've got a lot. I mean, what have I done now? Like about half a dozen sort of events now, maybe more. So you kind of build up the experience with it, and you don't sort of it's not that you don't care, but you don't feel the extra adrenaline rush to it too much anymore.
Correct, yeah, because you've been there, done that.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think everything I have right now, I'm very grateful for, and all the experiences I have, I hope to be able to bring here and, help the guys, take it to the next level, in a sense, and just sort of provide them and, impart my, I'm not going to say wisdom, that sounds very egotistical, but, my calmness at times and my sort of wealth of experience that I have to be able to give them, that, say, something goes wrong, they at least have something that they learn in terms of, not just tactics, but they also learn something in terms of how to manage themselves at events as well.
Now, I also believe that toughness that you have within yourself also is your upbringing. You said early on in the on the podcast that you had some immune system issues.
Yeah.
Going through those type of things in your life at an early stage, now, because, I mean, geez, you're fighting against, a whole bunch of stuff. And if you get sick, you gotta tough it out. And going through that type of process, I'm sure that has helped you to become, the man you are right now.
Indeed. I mean, the
mentality, your mind has to be tough at all times.
No, it very much so is. I mean, I was the official number was I was born with 156 allergies, and I was diagnosed with asthma as well when I was about 6 months old.
Oh gosh!
I've had 13 anaphylaxis reactions in my lifetime, of which each of obviously causes near-death experiences, and a few that are much closer to call than I would like to admit to. And they leave your scar on you, and they leave you with memories that you won't forget as a child. It's been 12 years since I had my last one, thank God, as of about 10 days ago. So it's definitely a big thing for me in terms of how I matured as a child. I definitely had to grow up a lot faster because I had to understand a lot more threats that were around me in terms of what could hurt me and what couldn't, compared to a lot of other kids who could maybe have a bit more fun in life. And, if you wanted to be a bit of a silly goose or a class clown, it was fine. I never got those luxuries in life, realistically, for certain things that I was trying to do, and I had to be very conservative and very cautious. I mean, I don't think I started going out to bars or clubs or anything like that until about 2-3 years ago, for example. I was still that tentative, that relatively sort of hesitant person, because it was just a case of, can I, should I, is this smart, is this wise, is it safe for me? And then, doing esports has sort of helped me sort of send myself across the world a bit more, and it's taught me there's always answers now, and the world is a lot better, sort of safer place than what it was when I was a kid in terms of being able to cater for my issues, my allergies, etc. But no, I mean it certainly helped for men who sort of form who I am, and in terms of my mindset, just to kind of accept that certain things will just be against you in life, and you just got to persevere and push on, and it's up to you whether you want to break it. If you want it to break you or not, is the truth.
Correct. Now, when you said near-death experience, I mean, yeah. I study a lot about near-death. I work in the medical field myself. So when you say near-death, was there a time that you had several minutes you were clinically dead for some time, or how did that come about?
Not quite, but I've been within, to quote a doctor's words, probably within a couple of minutes of, if that, of dying when I was about, goodness me, what I'd been about 8-9 years old. It was a thing for about 10 years that I couldn't get over. It still affects me today. I still have sleep problems because of it. And it's just sort of it's one of those memories you can't get rid of. It was correct. It's a small thing. I ate a sausage that I couldn't eat, and I had to walk for about 45 minutes home when I was living in Nepal. And one of the military doctors who was at this sort of party that we were at had to run to the camp, get nebulizer injections, etc. to sort of help me, and then he sort of found me in the bed there, basically kind of drifting in and out of consciousness constantly, barely being able to breathe, sort of shallow breathing, as if I'd basically just, almost as if I was there or thereabouts, ready to go. So, I mean, that's probably the closest I've come in terms of near death, and I like to keep it as a one-time kind of thing. Yeah. I've had a couple other sort of moments where I've been with not so great, but that one definitely was the closest and is the worst, and it's the one that sort of
I mean, did you had an outer body experience when that happened? You saw yourself out of your body?
No, not thankfully. But I just remember sort of listening to the final words, kind of a doctor of okay, just keep checking on him, monitoring him, and then just sort of passing out, and then waking up about 6 hours later or something like that. And
okay,
I remember seeing the doctor the next day, and he kind of came around to the house, and he was like, right, yeah, you survived about an hour nearly, sort of having an anaphylactic reaction, which is a very kind of extreme time frame to do that for, and also having to walk for about 30 minutes on top of that as well doesn't really help the body. And he was like,
correct, you're putting a lot of stress onto it.
Yeah, bit of a shocker that you make it, but hey.
Yeah, my son actually has asthma, and his is very chronic.
Yeah,
he has to see a lung specialist, pediatric pulmonologist.
Yeah.
Well, him going so many times and getting checked on, I mean, he gets tired of it. But like I tell him, it's till you get better. What's helped him out was playing the saxophone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, his getting his lungs to expand and work. So it was to a point that he was like 60% of function of his lungs, and by using the saxophone, it went up to 65, went up to 70, and went up to 80.
That's really
and
good.
then when he stops playing, it started going a little bit down. So he has to take a pump every single day. We got the nebulizer, we got all this stuff, but
Yeah.
It's scary. Asthma is very, very scary.
Yeah, no, it is. I was quite lucky that I grew out most of mine now. I was always taught it on like a scale of like 0 to 5, basically. 0 being you're lucky you don't have anything. 1 being people that get it like seasonally or occasionally, depending on like conditions. And then I'm currently a stage 2, so I'm like a Ventolin and Ventolin and it's a purple inhaler. I think it's called Seretide or something, Seretide. So I have 2 inhalers, and then when I was born, though, I had a stage 4 out of 5, so I was quite severe.
Wow.
I was having to take a regular course of sort of inhalers every single day just to be able to sort of like keep functioning. I think it was around the age of about 15 that it kind of like dissipated a lot, though, which I was quite lucky with. Everything works in 7-year cycles usually, so.
Wow. But you're doing good now. You're doing good now.
A lot better, yeah.
A lot better. Now you got to get checked up every single certain amount of time, every year or something, allergy test.
So every 6 months, every 12 months, I usually get an asthma review, and sort of like they test how that's going. The upcoming one that I've got, I think towards like Christmas time, there's an expectation or a hope at least I can drop down to 1 inhaler, which would be. It sounds like a small victory, realistically. Like I really still got to have something, but it's just like the blue inhaler, the one that everybody uses, the Ventolin kind of like, and it's your if you need something, and that for me would be like just a result kind of moment, like a tick VG. But actually, regarding allergy tests, you usually get those like every 7 to 10 years. I've actually got one coming up on the 3rd of July, which is going to be my first full body challenge test for about 14 years. So
wow.
If it goes all well, then I'll lose about 60 allergies, because I'll lose my allergies to all kinds of fish, shellfish, and everything else like that, which would open up a whole new dietary option for me, which would be very, very exciting.
Yeah, hopefully, that comes out good. Shellfish, you got to be very, 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 very extremely careful. Usually the doctors will tell you which ones to start off. Okay, you can eat shrimp, or you can eat this, and little by little introduce your body to shellfish if you can eat it. I can't eat it. I wasn't allergic when I was young. This is the crazy thing. I would eat crab, I would eat lobster, I would eat shrimp, lots of crab meat. And then all of a sudden, I think I was around like 13, 14, 15 years old, my body just like, okay, no more. As soon as I eat it, I start throwing up. Like rushing to the bathroom, I'd say, what's up? Blah, just throw up my stomach, couldn't take it no more.
Yeah.
And I was like, I used to eat this so much, when I was young. And they're like, yep, now your body says no. Now it changed.
Yeah, no, I have the same with strawberries. It was actually quite recently, about 5 years ago, that I'd always been allergic to strawberries, but it never actually teetered over to anything that affected me. And then about 5 years ago, I had a strawberry, and I was just terrible and sick and just horrible. And ever since then, it was like, yep, well, guess that's off the menu.
Wait, you say short what now?
Strawberries.
Oh, strawberries.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, such a small thing.
You can't eat strawberries? That's really weird.
Yeah, it's such a small thing that for me, it was like, it's tiny things, like, for example, you'd get like strawberry jelly, for example, or strawberry jam, things like that. And now it's like, nope, can't get that anymore. It's just like, at 20, for example, as well, it's a bit of a shock when you go, I'm used to this, now I can't. And you got to kind of like wrestle with your head with it for a little bit.
That is crazy. Isn't that really weird how your body shifts and changes, and all of a sudden you're used to eating something, and then out of a blue, just now you can't eat it no more because now your body says, okay, I don't want this no more. It's freaking crazy.
I mean, I've learned to accept that the things do not make sense. I mean, my allergies make
I know
absolutely
it
no
doesn't.
sense.
It doesn't make sense at all. I mean,
Yeah.
do you? Is your diet like very clean? You have to eat a lot of, or is it organic? No dye free, all this stuff.
No, nothing like that necessarily. It's sort of, so my like major allergies are like wheat, gluten, sesame, rye, nuts, fish right now, obviously shellfish, bananas, things like that. So I avoid all sort of like the bad stuff, you could say, and I keep it. Usually, I rarely eat out. I only eat out when we go to events and stuff like that, and then even then, it's like very like kind of like touchy on like where I'll go and what I'll eat. So G2 were very kind. They usually put me up in like like an apartment which had like a kitchen itself, so I could go to a supermarket and buy stuff. So I probably was like one of the only people that was like making full-on meals and courses at events for themselves. I remember like the night after we won SI, I sat there afterwards making myself a dinner. I was like, hey, nice, little pasta and sort of like chicken and stuff like that. So
now you can't eat shellfish, but can you eat fish?
No, neither.
You can't even eat salmon. You can eat salmon. Oh my gosh!
No.
See, I can't eat shellfish. I can't. There's 3 things I cannot eat. I can eat like the shrimp, lobster, crabs. That's basically it. But I could have scallops. I can eat, clams, oysters.
Oh, right,
that doesn't make me sick.
So it's just some and some don't, yeah.
Yeah, there's certain things. I could eat all the fish I want. That is freaking wild. I thought you would just be allergic to one certain thing. No. And that, what's really crazy, if you got to go to the hospital, they're going to ask you, okay, what are you allergic to? Oh, gosh, you got a list to go for.
I remember the first time for G2 when we went to boot camp, they asked me to write up a list. And I had to write up a list of everything. And I remember they gave it to the first chefs and they were like, what can he eat then? It's like, what are we meant to make him, basically? This is and
vegetables and chicken.
Yeah, literally, it was like rice, vegetables, chicken. And the guy was like, I think the first time the guy made it, he made wild rice, which I'm allergic to. And I was like, no, it has to be white rice. And the guy's like, oh, I've never met anybody. And I'm like, yeah, I'm special, mate. Like, I'm a whole batch of new things that you've never seen before. So, no, quite funny.
Man, that's gotta be wild. You know what? I'm really happy is that even though you've gone through all of that, which that kind of makes a lot of people feel secluded, feel different. I'm not part of the main group. I'm in a little corner. What I'm happy is that even despite with all that type of situation that you have gone through, that condition, you are a very popular person. You are important. You're needed. You are a coach. You look at your dreams. Look where you are now. A lot of times, a lot of kids that go through this, some of them go through a really horrible depression.
Yeah.
They feel they're not part of this world. They can't hang out with their other friends. They can't even play on grass because if you run around on grass, you start getting allergies or you're going to start getting an asthma attack. So they're just stuck at home. What happened with you, I see, is like you took home and you converted it to something as a victory. Okay, I'm going to be home, but I'm going to be productive. Now I'm going to concentrate in esports. I'm going to be a pro gamer. And look at you now. You're a freaking coach, and you're doing phenomenal. You lifted up the trophy. I mean, like, wow. The sky's the limit. Yeah. There's nothing. And this is something that everyone that's listening to, like, hey, if he could do it with all this type of conditions, so can you. So can you. I mean, you're positive role models to a lot of people that probably going through the same thing.
Then, yes, hopefully, people see that as an inspiration. I mean, I don't personally see myself as one. I just see myself as just the average everyday person that, everybody has their problems in life. Everybody has their struggles in life. And the reality is, it's how you want to tackle them and how you want to challenge them. I don't think there's any one solution to anybody. There's no one solution to anything in life. I mean, everybody has the down periods, everybody has their up periods, and I think the thing is, it just depends on how your outlook is. If your outlook can always be that you can understand at the other end of whatever tunnel or whatever sort of darkness that you're in, there is a bright light for you there is something that will make you happy, then that is what will always give you that something to lean on. And it sounds cliche, but there is always a light to look at, and I think that's what somebody always has to look at for themselves. It just sometimes it's a bit harder to find, but there is always something there.
Wow, man. How do your parents take all of this? I mean, knowing that the condition that you have, and them knowing that you're going to be on a flight and you're going to be traveling, how does
I'm 25
how did your
years
mom
old,
and
yet
dad kind of took it?
No. So my mum
they
is Colombian, and so she's like the typical South American mum that's very overprotective, is what you could call it. So even at 25, in her world, I'm like still a baby, basically, that doesn't know how to walk
normal.
2 steps. Yeah, literally. And my dad's obviously like British Army major, and he's just a case of, you'll get on with it, you'll survive, you'll find a way, So it's
Correct.
complete polar opposites with the two of them. But I remember for my mum, when I was growing up, it was very hard. I mean, I had like a terrible allergy to like pollen and like dust mites as well. So she would sit around the house, cleaning the house like 3 times a day for the first 10 years of my life. I owe a lot to my parents in terms of like everything they gave me, and sort of like the just the safe environment they provided me when I was a kid. So that's very good, and I try to repay that faith in terms of not stressing them out too much now that I'm an adult. Although I don't think I did them any favours back in February, where I fractured my skull at SI and then had to fly home. So that was they did not appreciate that too much.
You fractured what now?
So I fractured my skull So yeah, I think it was a boot camp. I caught a few infections. I ended up passing out on the bathroom floor whilst we were at boot camp. I think it was like a day or so before like the team actually went to the event to move into the hotels, because we were boot camping in Brazil. Had a lovely fun experience in a public hospital, then followed by a private hospital. Don't recommend going to public hospitals and getting your skull fractured, guys, for reference. In somewhere like Brazil, it's not advisable. And then I flew home like about 2 days later after I sort of like got some basic medication for me, and yeah, that was a non-fun experience. I think I scared half the team to death as well with that one, to be honest.
I bet.
Yeah.
Jeez. Well, usually parents are always overprotective. I mean, mommies are always gonna be that way. Moms are like that. You could be 40-some years old, like me. You could be 50. You could be 60. Whatever. Your mom is always gonna see you as the baby.
Very much so. Yeah,
that's very true. They're gonna spoil you. They're gonna do whatever. That's how moms are. You're gonna like, Mom. Okay, I'm 25. I'm 26. I'm already a big kid now. Mom. So I'm an adult now. So oh no, baby. Do you need anything? You want me to cook for you? You ate something? Are you hungry? All this stuff.
Yeah.
I'll get this for you. Don't worry about it. Yeah. You look a little bit sick. Let me make you some soup. You want this?
Yes, exactly. In a nutshell, perfectly done. Yeah, that is very true.
Bro, I still suffer through it. I'm 46, man. I'm still suffering. My mom is the same way.
I've got a sister who's 40, and when my mum goes to visit her, she's
spoils her, I bet.
Yeah.
Honey,
literally.
what does you want me to do? I'll help you clean up the house. I'll help you do this. And then you're like, oh, gosh.
Yeah, no, very much so. It's crazy. Some things will never change no matter how much you try.
I know. But you know what's really crazy? That the day you become a dad, you become a parent, you're going to be the same way.
No, I mean...
You're going to be the same way.
I can believe that. I mean, I'm somebody that, in terms of like family life, is something that I really want. I really want to have like that, like next step of anything that I have in my life. I think that's like kind of, once I'm done with this is probably, that would probably be where I go with, right? Once I'm done with my esports career, realistically. But I have a nephew who's 11 years old now. No, 12 years old now. He had his birthday the other day. And he was born in Hong Kong. We went to see him when he was a kid, and sadly for him, his dad passed away a few years ago from cancer, and we moved my sister and him out to here to the UK, so they could be closer to like my mum, so that there's like some sort of support beam then. It's kind of like you take that sort of, for him especially, like that kid doesn't have like much of like a father role model anymore, like a male role model in his life. So
yeah, that father
I try
figure
to sort of like be a positive sort of influence on him and a positive figure, so that he can always see something as somebody that's like, if you work hard, if you're a professional human being, if you're a well-behaved person, etc., you always have something in life, and it's something to always like, not aspire to be, but something that you can always like say, right, okay, if that can be my gold standard in a sense, then as long as I don't veer off too much from that, I'll always be fine. And it's somebody that he can always like talk to and sort of support. So yeah, I try to look after him quite a bit.
That's good. That's good. I mean, you're being there for him, and you are a phenomenal, good, positive role model. I think he's in good hands.
Thank you.
I think he's in good hands. Do you have a girlfriend now, or are you single, or you just?
I am single. I'm
single.
very much
Okay.
Single.
Oh, that's gonna come in time. That's gonna come in
Yes.
time.
We shall
Esports
see.
is kind of like, well, it's not easy. I mean, you're always, playing. You're in scrims. You're practicing. You're always on the computer, so you don't have that much of a social life outside of this, because you gotta dedicate so many hours and so much time playing and doing what you got to do.
Yeah.
So it's not that easy. A lot of these guys get these girlfriends, and they get girlfriends because they're they call them e-girls or whatever, gamer girls. And well, they stream and they play, so they kind of like hook up like that. Some other people don't, want to date anybody that's a streamer or something. They want to date somebody that's totally not in part of
Offline almost, yeah.
Yeah, they don't want their personal life to get involved in esports,
No, very true.
because it's to avoid drama. Some people just don't want that. They're like, okay, if I'm going to date somebody, I want to make sure she's not a gamer. She has nothing to do with gaming. She has nothing to do with the Twitter / X world or Instagram. She's just like concentrated in probably in college or studying. Which, by the way, I was going to ask you, what is it you're studying in college, or you're studying?
So
or
I studied. I've graduated now from university. I read a course in accounting and finance. But with that as well, I sort of like touched on contract law, company law, as well as politics was sort of like my big sort of like areas also of expertise.
Wow, bro, you're a freaking brain, man. The heck out of here.
Not anymore. Not anymore. Not so much. Not anymore. It's been a few years now since I've had to use any of that knowledge. That all. You got like, I mean, the stream, the podcast can't see, but you can kind of like see behind me there, like all my like set of books that are like all my accounting books, economics books, law books, etc. Still stockpiled away, looking very neat and tidy. Clearly been opened a lot since I graduated.
Now, you have your bachelor's degree?
Yes, yeah, correct.
Okay, good for you, man. Good for you. Now, you thinking about going keep
Masters?
after this, keep studying, or you want to?
I was the biggest enemy, I think, of anybody that ever had to study in their lives. I studied hard and I studied well, but I hated studying. I mean, I had a very rough education going from my O-levels into my A-levels, so like my 16 to 18 years were very, very difficult for me. And I also didn't do very well in terms of getting along with university lecturers whilst I was at university. I ended up getting in a lot of arguments with them. So, yeah, not quite my cup of tea, so not something I'll go back to into the world of education. Yeah, not for me, not at all.
Well, you know what? It's that you got to study. I always tell people you got to study something that you're really, really passionate about and something that you really, really like.
Yeah, true.
Some people get themselves into certain things that they shouldn't get into. They start studying stuff that, well, because my dad did this, so I should do it.
Yeah.
I feel pressure to do what my dad did. My dad wants to be a doctor, so, well, I guess I'm going to have to go and be a doctor. Yeah. Or my dad is a lawyer.
I fit in that category, to be fair.
Really?
I did accounting. I did accounting, and my father was a military accountant, and my grandfather was a military accountant.
Oh.
His father was an accountant.
Guys, I never knew this, folks. I never knew this, so I just spit that out there and look, I hit it. Bullseye.
Yeah, so I kind of was like, all right. In my family, for like past 5 generations, have always been military. So I also wanted to join the military. Unfortunately, with my medical conditions, I get turned away. But I was like, well, I can still at least be the accounting part. You know, I can't be the military accountant, but I can still be sort of like a civilian accountant. So when I'm done with esports, etc., I'll, one day probably like go into that sort of line of work. I mean, when COVID hit, I had like the job offers between doing a internship at Deloitte in London or working in esports. So, I mean, at some point I'll go back to it probably.
I'm going to tell you something. If you could work in esports, I think that's going to motivate you, and because you're not going to feel like, okay, this is my passion. I love esports. I got myself into this. But at least you still stay in the scene. You're still working in esports.
Yeah.
Ideally,
I'd love to stay here and have this be my career for my whole life. I mean, I know realistically, probably me being a coach is not a viable thing. I mean, I'm probably quite a young coach at 25, to be honest, and I know
you're young.
A lot of coaches in the other esports sort of like go on until their 30s and touch their 40s even. So, I mean, there is a potential there for a very long-lasting career. Maybe I won't have that. Maybe I will if I'm lucky, but I think hopefully my like skills that I have in terms of knowledge that I built up whilst working with teams, as well as what I did at university, will allow me to sort of work in the back end of organisations and stuff like that, and eventual top end work, you could call it.
Yeah, I mean the sky's the limit with you, because I mean you could be a coach if the team is doing good. If you're winning,
yeah,
they're not gonna move you. Because you're doing something right. Even though you may not win the tournament, but if you're in the top 10 and you're hitting top 5 and you're like, okay, you guys are almost there. You made 4th place. They're going to keep you. They're not going to say, okay, let's just move him and, drop him out and get another coach. Probably that other coach is not going to even go top 5. They're not going to put that, that's a big risk. Keeping you around, it would be much better and convenient for the team due to all the experience and all the stuff that you're doing for Bliss and, or whoever you go in the future, because the sky's the limit. But yeah, I mean, you're 25, you're still young. You can still coach for, quite some time until, you probably say, okay, I'm done. I don't want to do this no more. I want to now go into accounting. Yeah. Then you could just open up another journey.
Yeah.
Now, usually that kind of stuff happens when, a lot of times, I'm not saying everyone, but sometimes when somebody starts dating and they fall in love and they're about to get married and they want to get married. So now they want to provide a very stable home. They want to do something with their lives, and they want to say, okay, now I'm going to switch careers because this one's going to be longevity. I don't want to feel like I'm walking on eggshells, that I could be dropped next month or I could be dropped next year. I need something that I could feel secure and I could be a provider for my wife and my family. So let me go ahead and head over towards this career and do this. Being an accountant, they're not going to just like, okay, well, the team is not, I'm going to drop you. They don't do that to an accountant. You're just, you're doing your job and doing what you got to do with an esports. That'd be phenomenal.
Yeah.
But also you could get, be married, have your life with your wife, kids and everything, and you could be a stable provider. That's, there's certain things to look at. A lot of these pro players, and I didn't know, about this, but a lot of them, they have told me, in the past, like, listen, yeah, I'm a pro. Yes, I make good money, but I feel like I'm walking on eggshells every single day because I don't know when I could get dropped.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, if I'm not performing at a top tier level, like a Pangu, like a like Shaiko or all these people that are just top. They're untouchable. And they have their spot very secure, but still, even though then those guys still feel the pressure as well, because you just never know. So on the long run, a lot of them, they want to feel secure.
Yeah.
Like, for an example, Fabian, he left the the scenery, but he became a coach, and then obviously that's a very good position. He's still within esports, and he's doing what he got to do.
I think the big thing is to have that security. You'll never. It sounds horrible to say. You rarely have that in esports in itself, at least within Siege, within Rainbow Six, the way that our game works still right now in our ecosystem. It's very hard to have that. For me, I think either you have to have unbelievable faith and belief in your own abilities. For example, I have like very sort of like confidence in myself in knowing that what my sort of like abilities are, so I don't worry too much. Or you need to also have the backup plan already sorted, which I'm quite lucky that I have that already there with my degree. I know a lot of pro players go in at 18, 19, you haven't finished university, you haven't finished college, well, where do you go from there, kind of, where if you get dropped, you're then scrambling to find your next team, otherwise you're almost having to start your life again at maybe 21, 22, 23, and you're kind of like, I'm playing catch-up, kind of.
Correct. You're playing catch-up. That is so true.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm a big advocate for people to finish school. There's a young player, Adrian, who's on Team Secret. He recently finished his like A-levels here in the UK, so because he was very, very young, and he was like, do I, don't I? It's like, you always should, and you should always try to, like, finish whatever you can. So I think, like,
correct.
My only advice to anybody listening to this, if you're sort of like, I might get a chance to be in Pro League, I might have a chance to do X, Y, Z, finish what you have now and give yourself the best chance that you, at least when you are having your career, you're not having to stress about, if I get dropped the next day, I have nothing there to fall back on. You can always have something. But I'd also, same counter-argument, I'll always say to somebody, don't worry about that, because if you're playing with that worry and that concern on your shoulders, you'll never play to the best of your abilities. That's the God's honest truth that exists in the world. And there is always something out there for somebody. Even if you get dropped, then you have to restart and go to school, that's fine. If you have to go find another job in some sort of like industry then that you didn't expect, it's fine. There's always something there, so don't ever worry and ever sit there or let somebody tell you that, I'm so worried about this, I'm so stressed about this. There is always options for you. There is always, you could sort of say, there's always a plan, there's always a destiny for you in your life, and that is always going to be there. And it's just about making sure that you understand that and you can look at that big picture. And if you can, you'll always be able to sort of have a bit more trust in yourself, and then probably, consequently, play better as well.
Correct. Well, I think you're the best role model out there and an example that despite all the stuff that you've been gone through, physically, your medical condition, everything, you are where you are right now. You made it, and still you got your college degree. That is freaking phenomenal. Because some people are like, okay, well, I couldn't finish my college because I have issues with my knees and I couldn't walk and I have this and I have this type of condition and I feel kind of weak and all this and I'm gonna just wait. Like, what? I just got somebody on the podcast that gone through worse, 150 allergies and couldn't eat hardly anything and just strict dieting and asthma tech, was able to finish college, pro player, won, done a lot, achieved a lot in life. I think you just have to have incredible faith, in yourself and faith in God. I don't know if you're a believer or not, but what motivates you in life? What's your faith? You believe or you don't believe?
I'm not a believer, sadly.
You're not a believer, okay?
No, but
it's okay. I got a lot of friends that are a lot of them are atheists and they're really good friends of mine.
Sorry,
mm-hmm. No, I was gonna say I'm a very firm believer.
Right.
Why? Because of the NDE cases I see at work in the hospital and stuff like that, and that we could talk. That's another 5 hours or 10 hours of conversations and
one for the next one.
With patients that gone through it, even atheists as well. They come back and they're like, okay, I believe now.
No,
I had a friend of mine.
I have my father is obviously in the military, so he was a relatively big believer in it. And my grandfather was a massive believer. I mean, he was on the beaches in Normandy. So I think if you survive that, you have to believe, to be honest.
Yeah, for him,
makes perfect sense. And for me, I think it's just been who I am a little bit. It's always something that I've always questioned, just generally. It's nothing sort of like too deep into it. But for me, my faith, what I believe in, what's my like guiding light, I mean, myself is the biggest one, to be honest. I trust in myself and I believe in myself so greatly that, you know, I mean, my friends will make the joke that I sometimes sort of act deity-esque or like godlike in the way that I sort of will say, no, I know that I can do this. I know that I can do this. I can, you know, I back myself 100%. And those are like my fundamental sort of beliefs in life. And I have like a core set of values, core set of beliefs, and a core sort of set of fundamentals that I will always apply. And those things are what sort of carry me and guide me in life. Along with that as well is my father. My father is a massive part of who I am. I mean, everybody that meets us in person sort of jokes that we look the same. We are like, I'm a miniature version of him, and it's just, we are very much alike, and it's something that I think, same with my grandfather, it's just an aspiration to constantly almost do one better than the previous generation in the sense.
Correct.
We always go for that, and I think that's kind of like, you know, it's like you're playing a competition basically with your parents is all it is. So in my case with my father with his father, and his father with his father. So we always competed, you know. So
and soon when you have your son is gonna
exactly.
Same thing.
I expect no less. No.
Wow. I mean, you're a good guy, man. I think sooner or later in the future, you're probably gonna see things a little bit more differently, because what you've gone through. I mean, for me, I would say like, wow, there's got to be a higher power that kept you alive all these years,
potentially,
and has blessed you. But that's something that's gonna come in time. You're gonna have to have your own personal experience.
Yeah,
that's why I say one of my friends, actually co-worker, he was an atheist, very devout atheist. And we will talk, and I love him. I'm telling you, this guy, he's actually a personal close friend of mine out of work.
Yeah,
and he's the only one I talk about politics. He'll be the only one because it's so much respect, and he will educate me. I will educate him in my point of views, and he will tell me, you know, there's certain people you could have these type of conversations with. Not everybody you could talk about politics, or you could talk about religion. And I told him, are you sure you don't believe? Just not even a little ounce. And he goes, nope, I don't believe. I think as soon as you die, you're dead, and that's it. A year later, he does competition. What is that? The parachutes. They jump out of they do the formations when they jump out of.
Oh yeah, no, I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? I forgot what that's called. So he does that. He competes around the world, and they do this competition, and they jump out of these planes. But one day he was practicing, jumped out, did some formations, but his parachute wasn't opening up. They have this type of device that it detects the pressure and detects, you know, how far are you off from the ground for it to deploy the emergency one.
Yeah.
Thing is, he did not have his emergency parachute on him that day. So when he deployed it, it got tangled. His parachute got tangled, and it kind of like opened up halfway, and immediately just hit some trees. He knew that he had to go towards trees to, you know, hit something, not to hit ground.
Yeah.
Hit the trees, and boom. He died for I don't know how many minutes. He told me, listen, Jeff, I was out of my body. I saw the universe behind my head. I saw everything. He says, you get like this 360 type of vision. He saw this light that was beaming. He felt love. He said he felt this tremendous peace and love, and something let him know, like, this is not your time to go. And came back to his body.
Yeah.
And I was like, so now, do you believe? He goes, okay.
Maybe you have a point.
I believe
at that point.
now there's something out there. There's a higher power. I didn't see angels or anything. I just saw the universe. He said it was like it's like something really pretending. He saw his body. He was facing it, looking at it, and he felt this love and this tremendous peace. And I said, I told you that's the peace of God. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna go little by little, but yes, now I do believe there's something after death. He says this cannot be the only thing. And we're talking about a guy that he's like, he didn't believe in mosquitoes. I mean, he got to see it to believe it. You know, it took that experience. I don't say everybody's going to go through this or going to have some type of NDE. This is why I ask you when you mentioned NDE if you saw something and you say you didn't, but because, you know, a lot of people, they'll tend to see something happens, even in the operating room in the hospital. Some people will experience something. Some people don't, you know, but that's okay. I mean, like I said, this is something personal. People will just have their own personal experience, and if the time comes, it comes, you know. So, but wow, man, I'm gonna tell you, you're a true role model. After all the stuff that you have told me and said that here on the pod of everything that you've been through, you know, physically, all the conditions and everything. I mean, I gotta say, man, you're tough. I know I make the tough jokes on the beginning of the pod. This guy is tough, man. You know, all this stuff, but sincerely, you are tough. To go through all that and still go to college, still do all this, you know, and accomplish everything, man. I mean, you won SI. What else? I think the next step is to own an organization, bro.
No, nonsense, no. Next step is to win EWC, hopefully, win another SI, and then hopefully one more after that, and I can clear Shaz and be the most successful coach in the game. That's the goal right now.
There you go. There you have it, man. I have faith in you, man. I know you can. You're freaking good. You're really good.
Much.
You're really good, man. That's crazy. Now you cannot have any pets or animals or dogs.
No, nothing.
Nothing. Oh wow. Not even birds.
Nope. Nada.
Well, you cannot even feed them because you cannot be.
I can't touch their food.
You can't touch their food.
Nope. Nothing.
Man. Not even a goldfish?
I had one of those. I had two of those. Both my teacher's cats ate them when I was a kid, so I'm done with goldfish now. They keep getting eaten. I'm like, it's clearly not for me, you know.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. You had two goldfish. Your teacher's cat ate them.
Unbelievable. So I was fuming as a little child. I was like 4 years old, both times. Both in the space of about 6 months. Fuming.
Wow.
I loved it.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Well, brother, I know that is that time, and I know we passed the 1 hour.
All good. It's very good fun being on here. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad, man. I'm glad to have you on. I'm gonna bring you back later on, man, because this can't end like this. I mean, we gotta talk some more.
Loads more to talk about for sure.
Yeah, we gotta talk some more. Probably after World Cup, you know, we'll
Definitely.
bring you back and you could tell us a little bit more about what happened.
Sure.
I am friends with Wettable on Twitter. He does follow me. I follow him, so I'm interested. Wettables, you're gonna have to come on the show, bro.
Absolutely, get him on. He's a great hoops as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna say bring him on as well. Bring all the guys from Bliss. Yeah, I'll give you guys some good priority there. I'll get you like a week and probably get all the teammates, and that'll be fun.
That'd be great.
Okay, brother. Well, listen, I give everybody a minute to the stage. So you give all your socials, if you stream, if you don't stream, or where they could find you, where they could reach you at, you know. The stage is yours. Go ahead. You got a minute, man.
All right. So, main place you can follow me, guys, is on Twitch, on Twitter, X. My @ is @Titan_WD. I do occasionally stream on Twitch. My Twitch handle is Titan101. And then if you're really curious and kind of like have nothing better to do, I'll occasionally post things on Instagram when I go to events or when I'm traveling as well, and that is Titan_WD as well. So those are the sort of 3 areas that you can follow me. I usually just post a bunch of nonsense. My Twitter is very professional, very boring, but you'll get the occasional funny tweet that I'll post out of me doing something stupid at some event somewhere. So there's some entertainment for everybody in that.
Well, folks, you heard it from the man himself, and yes, he is a Titan. He is tough. So now you know. Coach for Team Bliss. Yes, please follow him on Twitter. I mean, he is, you guys heard it for yourself. I mean, he's phenomenal. He's a really nice guy. So, yeah, it's Titan_WD. You'll see him. You'll see his tweets and everything. And, yeah, please follow him. Phenomenal. Okay, folks. Well, it's that time. Sorry, couldn't make this go longer, but the good news is I'll bring him back on, and we got more stuff to talk about. But that's something to look forward to the future. I mean, it's not the first or last time he'll be on, so just stay tuned. Don't forget to follow. Take care. God bless you. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the DrVtach Show, and don't forget to click follow.